This Habs prospect has been on an absolute tear as he's amassed 28 points in the middle of his 17-game point streak. We have to dive into everything that is making him what he is and how good he could be for Montreal, plus some more Slafkovsky statistics. We know you guys love them, so stick around for all of that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. But before we get into it, quick reminder, guys, over half of you guys, this number isn't changing very much, over half of you guys watching this video are not subscribed. And if you like daily Montreal Canadiens content, news, rumors, reports, game recaps, this is your home for it. Let's jump first into the video, Jesse, and I wanted to talk a bit about something JFresh tweeted out today. And JFresh, as you guys know, if you've been watching the channel, if you're on Twitter, he does a lot of advanced analytics for players and teams, and someone requested he does the Habs team card, and his takeaways were basically there's a lot of run and gun in Montreal. It's free entry into their defensive zone with the puck for other teams, but the Habs can also create speed the other way, and they've actually had a good focus on shutting down passes into the slot, and you guys can feel free to pause and take a look at this yourself or go check out JFresh's Twitter. But, Jesse, there's a few takeaways we can take from this, and I think we wanted to start with the rush chances. Habs are dead last or second to dead last in the league in preventing these opportunities, and we know that's been a struggle for them so far this year. Do you see that getting better as time goes on with these young defenders?
I do, because I don't being such an issue, because the Montreal Canadiens are the best when they play with speed. And the thing about that is like when you're going for those rush chances, if you don't manage the puck properly, you end up giving rushes the other way, right? So I think that's just the problem right now. Maybe just like a little bit of inexperience, right? Of just managing the puck a little bit better once we're in the offensive zone to not create kind of these odd man rushes going back the other way, right? I think that leads into another point with the Montreal Canadiens and kind of a hopeful thing there as well, where we're getting more chances than what we're really capitalizing on, which is interesting to see, right? And very hopeful for the future. You have to feel like that will balance out. And I really feel that we can chalk that up to just some maturity of kind of getting those chances. And then as this team kind of grows a little bit, knowing how to finish those chances. Now, maybe we got a couple players that maybe can help and finish. We're not going to name names. We're not getting into slander right now. We're not doing that.
Absolutely not.
But, I think just as this team just continues to develop, just kind of finishing off those challenges, knowing how to still play with that speed, but at the same time kind of simplifying the game in a certain way, just so we're not putting ourselves in a bad position going the other way.
Yeah, and I actually saw something else today showing similar stats to JFresh's thing, but it also included shot quality, and Montreal was about league average when it came to shot quality. It's just the finishing really isn't there, and that kind of backs onto what you said, right? Like, the finishing ability is going to come, especially when we bring in some hopefully higher-end offensive talent in the next year or two. It's going to be amazing. One other thing I wanted to touch on this before we move on to the next topic is if you look in the defense section, cross slot passes and behind the net passes and even center lane passes, the Habs are about average in center lane passes, but they're top 10 in the league in stopping cross slot and behind the net passes. Jesse, this was a problem all last year and even early into this year, where how many times did we say the Habs are not defending anyone in front of their net? This has been one of the biggest, maybe most under the radar turnarounds for the Habs right now. I know 99% of that's David Savard making Vezina caliber saves. Okay, maybe not 99%, but at the same time, that was a huge weakness. We've seen them develop that, and that gives me a lot of hope for them developing some other aspects of their defensive game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I put that squarely on Martin St. Louis, the way he sees the game so well, really stopping those high quality scoring opportunities. We're allowing the shots from the outside, from the peripheral, but really trying to collapse down low. So I think that is absolutely amazing to see, because if you're controlling your shot attempts in your offensive zone and then having good rush defense, well, then you're completely covered, defensively. So it's really now just to kind of, have better rush defense. Again, our own rush is kind of going against us right now, but I think we're going to be able to better know how to use that weapon going forward in the future and definitely have better results as a part of that.
I think if you take out Mike Matheson overtime turnovers, we'd be top 10 in rush defense. Let's move on to the second topic. We said we weren't going to slander. I'm sorry. Some spicy Slaf stats. Look at that alliteration. Let's jump into this. So this right here is a list of all the players in the NHL in a teenage season. And if you guys missed our last video talking about teenage seasons, basically your age season is the age you are on January 31st. So this is for any player that was 19 or younger on January 31st of this year. Slafkovsky is second among teenage scoring this year behind only Connor Bedard. 68 games, 37 points for Slaf. As we all know, he's ahead of guys like Guhle, Fantilli, unfortunately out for the season, Leo Carlson, Zach Benson, a lot of other names there. Okay, great, we know he can score. Well, what else can he do? Well, he can also block shots. He's only behind Kevin Korchinski and Simon Nemec in blocked shots. Two fairly highly draft picks, especially Nemec, defensemen. Slaf is third as a forward with 59 blocked shots in 68 games. That's almost one a game. But to top it all off, if we look at hits among teenage players, he stands alone at the top with 122 hits. Second place, a distant second place, Adam Fantilli with 63. Look, Slafkovsky is straight up having I don't know if I want to say dominant teenage season. Lots of people in NHL history have had fantastic teenage seasons. I'm not going to put Slaf amongst the greats of all time or anything. What I am saying, though, is amongst his competition, amongst guys his age, his production this year has been almost otherworldly when you combine all the aspects of his game put together. Is he as good as Connor Bedard? No, not right now. I have a tough time saying that. But when you look at all these different aspects, offense, defense, physicality, he stands alone.
And he's slowly becoming like one of the most well-rounded young players in the NHL. And that's what really sets him. Like, Connor Bedard's pretty amazing, but he's not going to be hitting people. He's not going to be blocking shots while, at the same time, obviously he's got the point production, but Slav can do that too, right? So in your eyes, Slafkovsky, we're looking at the best teenager in the NHL that's not named Connor Bedard. And it's just because of this unique skill set. Like, imagine once he starts to get his man strength even more, like leading with so much hits right now, like it's just unbelievable. Like, Slav's going to be the type of player to just knock opponents down on the ice, pick up the puck from them, dipsy doodle around the goalie, and just rip it, on the net. Like, this is the type of player that he has, and it's very rare the type of guys that can really do this. It's basically just total humiliation is really what it's shaping up for the opposition right now.
And that's what we love. I mean, I'm sure Slaf loves that too. He loves humiliating the opposition. I mean, remember his goal against the Coyotes last year? He loves to laugh in people's face when he gets the better of him, and he's got such an amazing personality. But you're very right. Like, this is scary for other teams. Like, you have a guy on the ice there who's 6'4", built like if you watch they had a little video, him, Guhle, and Caufield about recycling stuff, and they called him a house. They go, you're a house, Slav. Like, it's calling him just a huge guy. He's 6'4", built like a brick house. The dude is able to overpower you. He's able to now stay on his feet all the time. He makes the right plays, crisp passes across the ice, and he's still going to lay his body on the line for the team. There's about nothing else you could ask for from him, and really excited to see his production into the future. But Jesse, the final thing we got to talk about, speaking of the future, it's time to talk about Owen Beck. Yes, if you didn't figure it out, well, he might have been in the thumbnail, so maybe the opening hook of the video, maybe you already knew who I was talking about, but it's Owen Beck. He has been so good, and I feel like he's been flying a bit under the radar. And in this article by Yoli Stuckel, I believe is how you pronounce it, and actually Mark Dumont wrote something a couple days ago as well that I'm going to source here in a second, how Owen Beck is quietly increasing his NHL potential as a top 6 center. Yes, they think he could be a top 6 center. Now, I don't know about top 6 right now, but for sure bottom 6 projection for Owen Beck as we take a look at what he's been doing. He is their #1 center in an incredibly deep lineup for Saginaw since being moved over there from Peterborough. His utility and ability to be a high-end option in all situations, offense, defense, doesn't matter, makes him super valuable. He's in the midst of a 17-game point streak where he has 28 points. He's showing the potential of being a top 6 center, and as Mark Dumont kind of outlines, in his time this season, he has 33 goals, 42 assists in 54 games, including 12 goals, 16 assists over this recent 17-game scoring streak. And just his time in Saginaw, Jesse, he has 45 points in 29 games. That offensive upside that we thought we might eventually get from him is coming through, albeit in a season where he's a bit of an overager for the OHL. It is what it is. Not really an overager, but a bit. It's really phenomenal to see his progression with this new team, what some better line mates can do for him, as he is showing he is a star in every single situation.
Just like Nick Suzuki, who is going to be a perfect role model for him coming to the NHL. Somebody who plays like that really complete game, right? And of course, we're not saying that Owen Beck is Nick Suzuki, but with him taking those strides in offensive game, he's getting there because the defensive game was already very high, very good face-up all-around type of guy. Now, if you start bringing in that offense, right, that's a really complete hockey player that we're talking about. You've got to feel there's going to be a lot to learn from Nick Suzuki. That's really going to benefit Owen Beck so much. One of the best two-way guys in the whole NHL, and he's going to have him right there to learn from. So you have to feel like that's going to really help a lot. And just imagine, Josh, like, you know, having 2 out of our 4 centers for this team being really good defensive, but then also guys that can chip in offensively and respective to the lines that they're on. And obviously the expectations would be tailored to such. That being said, that, you know, combination of being able to play that strong defensive game, but then to chip in offensively, like we're seeing here, you know, 28 points in 17 games, just having a 17-point streak, overage or not, that's nothing to scoff at, right? And then what he's doing, obviously, like, hockey's a team game. The team that you're on is very relevant since coming with the Saginaw Spirit. I think important to remember with David Reinbacher in that whole context of that your production is very much affected by your teammates. And as this team continues to grow, obviously we're going to see the point totals increase from the players already here as a result, right? But I mean, I just see that shaping into really winning hockey, right? Again, when you got the players, 2 out of your 4 at least, that can play those really strong kind of all-around games, I really like how that lines up for the Montreal Canadiens.
And hey, if Owen Beck ends up projecting into that maybe 3C for the Montreal Canadiens and Jake Evans slides back to that 4C, I love Jake Evans, as you guys all know. Like, that's his ideal role. Jake Evans, offensively, for a 4C is quite good, and he is, I mean, one of the Habs' best defending forwards as well, so you can have a lockdown forward core there. Evans is also, I think, 52% on the faceoff dot this year, while Suzuki's at about 53%. 2 right-handed guys just like Owen Beck. There's a lot of stuff that Owen Beck's going to learn. Face-offs. He's going to learn defensive acumen. I mean, even more than he already has. You're very right that the Habs organization is set up for a guy like Owen Beck to have amazing success in the NHL eventually. Top 6 forward, I think that's definitely his ceiling of ceilings. I still think if Owen Beck ends up being that kind of guy, Jesse, that we're talking about, you can rely on him defensively in any situation. You can rely on him to chip in occasionally offensively in that kind of 3C, maybe 4C role. That is a success of a pick, because those kind of guys, well, they're not that easy to come by, and they're incredibly good at contributing to winning hockey. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. What do you think about Owen Beck's recent crazy production and the crazy slap stats that we showed you earlier? We'd love to hear all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy our daily Habs content. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.